It's Ahaus, lovely Ahaus. I wasn't prepared that I have 20 more seconds with this slide. Okay, but soon you will see, beautiful pictures of Ahaus. That's the house I grew up in. So just come with me. Imagine it's 1991, I'm 10 years old, and I'm sneaking out of the bed because I wasn't allowed to watch the end of my favorite movie, Back to Future. So I'm eavesdropping at our door of our living room, and because I just can't wait to live in the future of 2015, like in the movie. I even turn pockets of my trousers outside like they did in the movie. So indeed, science fiction can be so powerful. The Back to Future sparked my interest in innovation and the future. And science fiction materializes our ideas and our visions. And it also let us play with the question, what if? But there are many flaws with science fiction. Or first of all, I wanted to add that science fiction and science are intertwined. And science fiction is also influencing science, like the gestural interface from Minority Report. Yeah, I know it's not Tom Cruise, sorry. And as I already said, there are some flaws with science fiction because Hollywood, etc., are telling the same stories again and again. And most of them are dystopian. So like about robots taking over, etc. And that, and we remain quite passive with these cliche futures. And also other flaws are that science fiction is usually tech-centric and ethnocentric, with Black Panther being an exception. So it does not regard to cultural change. But there are so many possible futures we can think of. And we can't predict the future. It's too complex. So that's why we should focus on what futures do we want. And there have been many approaches popping up that will help us with this. Speculative design and design fiction, only two to name. And especially design has opened up to other disciplines like social science. And design fiction, as defined by Julian Bleecker, is a hybrid mix of design, science fiction, and science fact. And the main concept here is the so-called diegetic prototype. That means that prototypes make our ideas explorable, tangible, and alive, and the prototype becomes part of the overall story and vision. So it's not really about the prototype or object. It's more about opening the space for alternative futures, for different thinking and discussions. And it's there to raise questions, to provoke and inspire. And now, just to give you an example, this is a fictional future IKEA catalog by the Near Future Laboratory. And what this is, it brings down a vision of the future into everyday life. Another design fiction project is this by the Extrapolation Factory. What they did, they invited people to come up with 1990-cent items, and then indeed they placed them into this 1990-cent store in New York City. Then they also interacted with the people in that store and were starting discussions with them about these possible future objects. So how do we make use of design fiction for developing socially responsible AI? Of course, first of all, it has to be human-centered. We need to integrate humans from the very beginning to the very end of design fiction projects. We have to observe and ask people, what do they want, what do they expect, and what do they fear about the future? What and which stories need to be told? And then, of course, we have to co-create these prototypes with the people. And we also have to map and analyze the feedback about, people are giving about these design fiction projects. And there are also many tools and approaches that will help us with this. For example, Nestor is using this card game that prompts input to think about possible future objects and stories. Or another example is the method of world building by Lia Zaidi. She lays out different layers of the social, political, or environmental, for example, and then by thinking it, by doing a thought out of this, she's coming up with a whole future world. And then she does some backcasting to think about the different steps. This is an example of a design fiction project including AI, also from Lia Zaidi, where she thought about possible AI job ads in the future, like this actualized live programmer. So it's all about storytelling. Or this is by Tell Art. They did an exhibition for the Future Museum of Dubai, where you could experience what it would be like to live with with an AI assistant. So when I was in Ahaus this June, I was intrigued to see there is actually a pub there called the Unbrexit, a utopia in my boring hometown. And as a sociologist and sci-fi writer H.G. Wells already said in 1906, the creation of utopias and their exhaustive criticism is the proper and distinctive method of sociology.